Hello again. For some time past, I have been wondering about the fact that so many left wing types seem to me to be po-faced and humourless. Even in plays and television programmes with a left wing slant, what humour there is all too often laboured and generally, well, not funny. I was reminded of this by some of the comments here over the last couple of days, in which it is suggested that I am well disposed towards Nazi Germany. If true, this would of course be an interesting point, and one which might be expected to shed light upon my character. The source of this suggestion comes from a humorous and light-hearted video which I released here a couple of days ago, in which I gained great pleasure from mocking both Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood and also Nigel Farage, leader of the Reform UK Party. I give a link to this video in the description to this video. In it, I remark that it is unfortunate that Farage chose to pinch an old catchphrase of David Cameron's from 2009 about family, community and country. I remarked that three-word slogans of this kind tend to be associated with right-wing dictators, and that this is an unfortunate look for him. I gave the example of Marshal Petain's Travail, Famille, Patria, that is to say work, family and fatherland, and also the Nazi slogan of Ein Reich, ein Volk, ein Führer, which I suppose requires no translation. I went on at one point to say laughingly, not that I have anything against Vichy France or Nazi Germany, you understand. This, as it seemed, caused some people to jump to the conclusion that this was an open and unashamed avowal of my right-wing sympathies. I think the problem here probably stems from a lack of understanding of humour, particularly the more sophisticated kind which goes beyond the slapstick rough and tumble of the kind seen in music hall. You see, there are two types of humour closely allied which are known as irony and sarcasm. In these, the audience is expected to understand that the actual meaning of the writer or speaker is really diametrically opposed to the words he uses. I readily appreciate that this is a tricky concept to grasp, and that those who are most vehement in their criticism of me have rather more basic ideas of humour, such as farting or jokes about masturbation and oral sex. The man who accused me today in a comment here of having pro-Nazi Germany sympathies goes sometimes by the name of Bob Wilkins. Until lately, his videos all began with a long farting sound, which I have no doubt sent some of his viewers into paroxysms of uncontrollable mirth. How does irony work? I recently discussed a new television series with somebody. It is about Ed Gein, from whom the films Psycho and Silence of the Lambs both drew inspiration. We discussed the idea of removing the skin from murder victims and using it for various bizarre purposes, and I remarked casually, don't get me wrong, I've nothing against serial killers, but that really is going a bit far. Now, I dare say that if I had said such a thing on this channel, then allegations would now be flying around that I'm in favour of serial killing. That's the problem, you see, with irony. Some people take the words at face value. On a video earlier today, I said apropos of the Tories and Labour Party that I have nothing against greedy and avaricious politicians, you understand, but it's always a mistake to let the mask slip too far. I'm guessing that some viewers took this to mean that I really don't have a problem with greedy politicians, and in fact that I am a supporter of greedy and avaricious politicians. Anyway, as I say, this lack of appreciation of any type of humour beyond the most obvious and crude does seem to me something I observe more often in left-wing folk, who come across sometimes as being a bit pissy and prudish. And I think it was this which has led to the misunderstanding. I shall make a conscious effort to avoid irony and sarcasm in future, or the good Lord alone knows what I will next be suspected of.